I'm Hunter Atkins, Chairman of the Board of the Bank of Nashville. We at the Bank of Nashville sponsor CEO Cafes for the last 5 years, and today we have a special presentation by Professor David Owens, who teaches at the Owens School at Vanderbilt. His new book, 6 Ways That We Kill Innovation, has recently been out and touches on a topic that's near and dear to all C-level players. We hope that you'll enjoy this presentation, and we hope that you'll come see the Bank of Nashville, where we help you to get there with your banking needs.
I can't think of a subject that we need to know more about than innovation. We're excited to have David here. I visited with him at the Owens School of Management recently, and he's just fascinating. This is right in the sweet spot of where we wanted this concept to be. The concept is basically to help business owners get from here to there. The Bank of Nashville is designed to help you get from here to there, like their logo, underneath their logo says, financially. So you got the whole package here. We'll give you ideas, we give you funding to put them into practice.
It's my privilege this morning to introduce David Owens. David is the Professor of Management and Innovation at the Owen Graduate School at Vanderbilt, where he also heads up the Executive Development Institute. He's one of the country's leading authorities on innovation. Now, he approaches innovation a little bit differently than some people. David, if you would, can you open up your lapel to look at your pocket? I was seeing if there was a pocket protector. David is an engineer by training. Has a bachelor's in electrical engineering from Stanford, a master's in engineering, and a PhD in both management and engineering from Stanford. He's worked in design, product design with some of the leading brands in the world, and that's from Apple Computer to Dell, to companies like CEOCafe, the furniture that many of you are sitting in, and IDEO, the design firm. And he's consulted with some of the leading countries around the world, companies like Cisco, Nissan, the Nissan Leaf, and Gibson Music. He's also worn the CEO hat, so he knows what it's like not to just be a consultant, advisor, and teacher, but he's actually been in the line role, and he was the CEO of Griffin Technology, a consumer electronics company. And a year ago, I guess, it was last fall, he published a book by the title of Creative People Must Be Stopped: 6 Ways to Kill Innovation Without Even Trying. I think all of us can relate to that. That's the topic of this morning's presentation. David, it's our privilege to have you.
Bill. That's so kind. That's so kind. Morning, everyone. Morning. Are we okay? Yeah. Okay, I'm a little bit nervous. I'm going to probably say some stupid stuff. I'll say it early, get out of the way, then I'll have nothing to lose, right? It's all uphill after that. So what I wanted to talk to you about this morning is innovation. Obviously, I am really interested in it, and I found more victims. My wife won't talk to me about innovation anymore. She says, enough with innovation, guy. So my question is, how do you do innovation? How do you do it in your organizations? Anyone? How do you do innovation? Yes?
First step is to realize that the way I've been doing business.
Okay. So realize that there's a problem, right? That I might be going down the wrong path. I'm becoming irrelevant, and so say what is it? You have to acknowledging the problem is the first step. Yeah.
Listening to my customers.
Listen to your customers. You go out and find out what they want, what they don't want, and say, hey, where are we missing the mark? And that helps you, gives you insights about what to do. But how do you actually do it? Hey, Anyone? Yeah.
Well, you know, I think that my business experience, you bring together customers.
Okay, so you bring people together, and then you start brainstorming and blue sky, everything. Blue sky, is that? How about this? Think outside the box. Do we do that? No? Oh, come on, people. You don't think outside the box? So, oh, we need innovation. Always? Always thinking outside the box. Okay, so can we do that now? Can we think outside the box? Because so you're in a situation, I've been in a situation before, where I say, okay, people, you know, this company used to be innovative. Like when I was doing the innovation, and like I was on the line, like we had great products back then. It was awesome, right? And now it's like I have all these layers of knucklehead, right? And I need innovation. So I go look out and I go find some people, find some, you know, this young person comes in and says, hey, oh, they used to work at Google, so they must be creative. They must be able to think outside the box, right? And so I say, like, dude, I'm paying you to think outside the box. So I bring them in to say, this box, no. I need you outside the box. They come back with an idea. They work so hard and they're all psyched up. They come back with the idea. I say, dude, that's too expensive. They get this young person, they're thinking like this big blue sky outside the box. Oh, I mean, come on, we have to make more money than we spend. Right? Isn't that what business does? You make more money than you spend. You know, but I like how you're thinking outside the box. But keep trying. So, send them off. I hire another one. Get this one from Apple, right? Because they know a little bit more. You think so? Okay. The young person comes in. I say, okay, man, go off. You know, this loser from Google couldn't do it. Maybe you can do it. Maybe you can help me. Maybe you can think outside the box. So they go work, and they're up all weekend working hard. You know, nowadays they just like, there's no clock, and you know, I'm looking at my electricity bill. The lights are on all night. They're working really hard. And so they come back, and then I say, oh, that's edgy. Like that. Our customers, you know, kind of conservative, and that's kind of edgy, and I like how you think outside the box, but man, that's way too edgy. Okay. Try it again. Send the next person off. They come back. Have you ever heard this sound before? Man, ooh, like that's hard. Like that is like, I don't know about that. Oh, that's just way too difficult. Sometimes we just have to, okay. So I send them off again. Comes back. Oh my God, that's so complicated. I have to explain. You know why we get the donuts on Thursday and not on Wednesday? Because on Thursday we get free donuts. On Wednesday we need a new accounting line item, and it will just be a big mess. It was way too complicated. We need to keep our meetings on Thursday, okay? It's too complicated. But I like how you're thinking outside the box. Yeah, you're really pushing the box out there. And then we have some things that are risky. They come back with these ideas like risky. It's like, what are you, like an idiot? Like with this whole business, everything could go down. We could be dead. I mean, we have mouths to feed, dude. Come on. It's risky, right? You know about risk. Yeah. And then you have all this hope. You put all your hope in the last person. You say, can you do it? Can you? Can you do it? Can you? Yes. Okay, she said yes. Okay, yes, yeah. It was getting awkward there for a minute. And so she comes back, and I say, oh, that's just weird. What? God, what a weird idea. Whoa. But I like how you're thinking outside the box. Yeah, that's weird. But it can be done. There can be ideas. There are solutions that are not too weird, not too risky, not too difficult, not too complicated. Aren't there? And so finally someone brings me one. They brought it. They got it. So what do I say?
You're on to do it.
I say, you're on to do it, yeah? What do I say before that? I say, what a puny idea. I asked you to be creative. Like, what's wrong with you? You bring me these puny ideas. I said, hey, think outside the box, and what do you bring me? Puny ideas. Is this true? This happened. Here we're back in the box, right? Why do we do this to people? Why do we say, I need you to think outside the box? Are we lying to them? Are we setting them up? Like, hey, watch this. I'm going to tell them to think outside the box. Watch what happens. Yeah? Because we say it all the time, right? We say, think outside. Everyone's heard that term before, right? Think outside the box, yeah? And so there's something that's set up there that is, I don't know, it's kind of perplexing to me, is like why we do that and how this works. And I've been struggling with this question for a long time. I've been looking at situations where people have tried to be creative and why they failed doing that. In some sense, my philosophy is that everyone's creative, especially when I have had young kids. When they're young, there's all this creativity coming out, and then it sort of erodes over time. You observe this? Yeah, it sort of gets less and less and less, and then you ask an adult to draw a picture, and you ask a 5-year-old to draw the picture. The 5-year-old has much better drawing skills than an adult. It's like, what happened? Like, what is it? How did we stop that creativity? What do we stop from happening? And so with that as the sort of the stepping off point, I've been really interested in why does innovation fail? What are the different ways we stop innovation? Because if we start out as kids and we're very creative, then there must be things that we're doing systematically that stop it. So instead of going to organizations saying, hey, I will help you be more creative, most organizations say, I don't need that. I got plenty of ideas. That's not the problem. There's something else to it. And so that's where I want to explore with you a little bit here. So has anyone seen this car before? Yes. The GM EV1. So this was the electric vehicle one in the early 90s, codenamed the Impact. Yeah, don't name a car the Impact, right? That's a big problem. What do you think? This looks good, a nice car? Would you want it? No. No, it's too ugly? Yeah? What if I told you it still holds the world land speed record for an electric car, 186 miles an hour. Oh, now testosterone's going, oh, I like that car, yeah. Yeah, I like it all of a sudden. You do have to worry about how you're going to change this tire back here. Yeah, that's a little bit of a problem. So they leased these cars. A lot of people had these cars. They produced 2,000 of them, and sort of as like a test drive kind of thing. And people were driving them. People loved the cars. The people who had them loved them. Everyone else thought they were ugly, but the people who had them loved these cars, early 90s. And so one day, GM says, hey, we need the cars back. Lease is over. We need the cars back. And so people said, no, let me buy the car. Jay Leno had one. He loved the car. He said, look, I'll give you $1 million for this car. Let me keep this car. And they said, no, we need the car back. Do you want to know why they need the car back? Because they turned the Impact into the Compact. They crushed them. Yeah. Why would they do that? Crushed. So here's a creative idea, crushed. Another one. New Coke. Remember New Coke? Why did New Coke fail? It wasn't good? Didn't taste good? Sorry? Wasn't as good as the old product. Okay, so that's a good question. What does good mean in soft drinks? So if I had like 10 million bucks back then, which is like $1 billion now, I had 10 million bucks, and I said, I'm going to do taste tests. I'm going to make sure this tastes better. And so I'll get 2 cups, try this, this one tastes better. Try this, this one like $10 million worth of taste tests, this one tastes better. And so what do we do with it? What do we do when they actually put it in a can? We hated it. We rejected it. We ran to the 7-Eleven and the MAPCOs, and we started hoarding the old Coke because we didn't like the new Coke, which actually tasted better. Isn't that kind of weird? Yeah, that's kind of strange. Yeah, it's the damn people. Earth would be the engineer's paradise. How many drove here in their Segway? Anyone? No? How many here have iPhones? Okay, more than half of the people have iPhones. They were going to sell more Segways than they sell iPhones currently. That was the projection. These projections were they were going to sell millions of these things, and we were all going to have gotten here by our Segway. Why didn't we do that? Sorry? The weather, the range, the no cargo space, expense. Lots of good reasons. I think it's kind of expensive, yeah? It requires us to change our behavior. Because now instead of getting in the car, we'd have to actually get on the Segway. Yeah? So, some people did buy Segways. For example, the SWAT team at the Beijing Olympics. So they would, there's like some incident, the truck would drive out, they're all in the back of the truck, the bottom would fly out, and they come rolling out, and they would like scare the bad guy, right? The sharpshooters, they'd have to do their thing, shooting. So Segway got a flat. And it's a good question. So some municipalities, Segway, one thing they did was they said, well, that thing is too fast for the sidewalk. Let's make a law so you can't drive on the sidewalk. It's too fast. And then at the same time, they said, well, that thing is too slow for the streets. It might get hit by a car. You can't drive that in the streets. And so then poor Segway was like, you can't drive in the street, can't drive on the sidewalk. Where am I supposed to drive it? And what do the municipalities say? The legislators, they said, not our problem, I didn't buy it. All right? Okay, ignored. Because we should all have driven here with our Segways, if things were right. The Diamond Rio, first digital MP3 player, first commercially available one, around 2000, 99, 2000, this came out. What happened to that one? This was about 3 years before the iPod. And it looks suspiciously like the iPod, right? You got that round thing with the controls on, you got your display up here, even have the headphone jack on the top. What happened? Anyone? They got sued into oblivion because all content was illegal. And at that point, this in some circles could be perceived as you're facilitating stealing music. Okay, another one. This is a material that's called Sew and Grow, and I've actually brought some for audience participation here. Take a look at this stuff. You can throw some back there, here. So this stuff is, let me read about it to you. It's called Sew and Grow, and it will change the way you plant. How many do you plant plants? Yeah? Just send that stuff around. Let people check it out. So what does it do? It retains moisture, time-release nitrogen, promotes faster root growth, promotes root structure, it's chemical-free, it's environmentally friendly, it's ideal in drought areas. We don't have a drought, but it's ideal in drought areas. No mixing or smelly odors. We just had some turkey manure on our cards and on our plants. That was pretty smelly. And this stuff, Sew and Grow, is 100% recycled human hair. What? It is. So it's 100% recycled human hair. What do you think? It's good stuff. Well, you're wiping your hands off? Is that? Come on. I'll tell you, this stuff it's sterile, or was sterile before you touched it. Yeah, it's sterile, actually. So for Sew and Grow, I was showing this to my daughter once, and she had touched it like you had. It was like, and I said, oh, that's human hair, because I tricked her. It's like I tricked you. And she said, that's not human hair, because she had cognitive dissonance where you did something, but you don't want to admit that it's true. Yeah, she said, that's not human hair, so she's thinking really hard. She says, wait a minute, there are no blonde ones in there. How come there are no blonde hairs in there? Can't be hair. I was like, oh, yeah, that's good. Oh, wait, it's made in China. Yeah. So, in fact, they get hair from China, and they put it into these mats. But, you know, what happened? People say, yuck, right? Okay. Very innovative, very outside the box, very creative, right? Oh, you want to get rid of that? Yeah. Okay. Well, hang on to this. Yeah. Okay. Here, a friend of mine had an outside a box idea. What do you think happened? People laughed at him. People ridiculed him. He had this great idea, and no. Too outside the box. It's like, think of it, free headset. Like go in the copy room, steal a rubber band. You got it. You got to worry about your circulation on your forehead a little bit. Yeah. Okay, ridiculed. And so one thing that sort of that ties these together for me, so I've shown you a bunch of different examples, sort of wacky things, a bunch of different examples to say what ties them together. What is it that makes sense? And it's kind of, you know, these weird things that happen in life that one day I'm driving in my car, I'm sort of, you know, thinking about this stuff, about innovation, how's it going? And then it hits me, or almost hits me, because it's on a bumper sticker in the car in front of me. And I almost hit it, and it said, creative people must be stopped. And I thought, that's it. That's the problem. The problem is that the world behaves as if creative people must be stopped. And if I take that to heart, if I really know that, if I have an idea, I need to start being worried. I can't just sort of walk into any situation and say, hey, I got this great idea, people. Because what's going to happen is it's going to get crushed, rejected, sued. All these different things are going to happen to this. And so this problem is, I need to understand what are the different ways I might get stopped. I have this idea, how is it going to get stopped? Because I believe this is the way the world behaves. Because it explains what happens with kids, it explains all of these things. So from here, as an academic, I have to go off and study this stuff. And so I'm reading about innovation. Reading now is easy because I used to have to walk to the library, and I just go on Amazon Prime. Right? It's in my office faster than I can actually walk to the library and go up and down. And in my reading, I've run across basically what I would argue are 6 different theories or different ways of looking at innovation. And so if any of you are innovation enthusiasts, you have more than a couple of innovation books on your desk, it may seem like a little bit confusing. Because they all sort of tell you something different and tell you in a different way, and they're all really compelling. Because if someone sits down and spends a couple of years writing a book, it can be very compelling. So let me share with you a couple of things I've observed. So there's a kind of book that basically says, the problem of innovation is that people don't have good ideas. If you just had better ideas, you would have innovation. And so, remember, think different. If you could think like Einstein, if you could think like Leonardo da Vinci, if you could change the way you think, change your thought patterns, you would end up with better ideas. And that's the problem of innovation. Right? So for example, here's Google Labs. I have a Google Labs aptitude test. This was a test that they were using. It's sort of a little bit advertising, but I think there's a lesson here to get young people to fill out this application to be at Google Labs. And let me read you question number 8. How many different ways can you color an icosahedron with one of 3 colors on each face? Anyone? No? Okay, I'll give you a clue. Icosahedron is a 20-sided figure. Okay, now? 120. No, wrong. Well, let's just Google it. We could Google that, right? Should I go into Google, find out? It actually turns out this is one of those math problems with an exclamation point in it. And those are the hard ones, right? They got an exclamation point in the math equation. What colors would you choose? You have 3 colors to choose. What colors would you choose?
Blue.
Blue.
Lime green.
Lime green.
Yellow.
Yellow. Blue, lime green, yellow. Okay, I'll buy it. Yeah. Purple. 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 Okay. Oh, that could make it easy, actually. Yeah. And then, so we got that covered. Question number 9. This space left intentionally blank. Please fill it with something that improves upon emptiness. Okay? What do you think? What do you put in there? That's kind of weird, isn't it? Could they imagine they're hiring people on the basis of this? What are they doing? So if you think about it from an individual perspective, from a creative individual, what they're doing is they're looking at people who can use the left side of their brain. There's a left brain question, real hard. There's one right answer, and there's a way to do it, and you sort of crank through, and you come up and you can check the answer. Then the second one, what colors would you choose? That's a little bit more sort of in between, because they're saying 3 colors, but you get a little bit of subjectivity. But if you think of the words we have for colors, it's fairly limited. And so this one's a little bit more bounded. Then you end up here, this space left blank, please fill with something that improves upon emptiness. That's a total right brain question, right? So this is subjectivity and sensitivity and aesthetics and beauty and all those kind of things. And so you imagine that there's certain kinds of people who love these left brain questions. They will absolutely hate filling out this right brain question, and vice versa on both sides. And so they want people who are left brain and right brain, question number 8, question number 9, right next to each other. And so that you could slam from hard left to hard right, just right in the same moment. Why wouldn't you just get a bunch of left-brainers and a bunch of right-brainers and put them in a room together? Why are you shaking your head? No? They'll kill each other? Yeah? To clean up the blood afterwards? Yeah? So if we say, we don't know whether a question is going to be a right-brain question or a left-brain question, as you do your work, something's going to come that problem needs to be solved, and we can't predict it's going to be right or left brain. We need people who can think in both ways, who aren't freaked out by going the one way or going the other way, and are able to solve it. And so for psychologists, there's something that goes on in the brain that would allow us to have better ideas, because if I treat the world as if every problem is a left brain problem, I'm doomed. And if I treat the world as if every problem is a right brain problem, data doesn't matter, I ignore analysis, then that's a problem also. And so I want things that can switch back and forth. And that's the way I would hedge, that's the way I would overcome this as a barrier to innovation. Another one. This psychology view is interesting, partly because there is a group called social psychologists who disagree with it. They say, look, those psychologists, so I'm a social psychologist, these psychologists, they're losers. We don't invite them to our parties because they think everything interesting happens in the head. So they just stand around thinking, right? We know the action is between people, social psychology, right? We're thinking about what happens between people. And they say, bring me your Leonardo da Vinci's. Give me 10 Leonardo da Vinci's, put them in a room together, and have them start brainstorming. They're brainstorming, they're thinking all kinds of things. Then have the CEO walk in and say, that's a dumb idea. That'll never work. Last person who said that got fired. What happens to innovation? It's gone. Left brain, right brain, doesn't matter, right? It's gone. So maybe there's something about the way the groups work together, the way the groups, you have to feel comfortable taking the risk even of telling other people my idea at that level. Here's Art Fry and Spence Silver. These were the 2 gentlemen who came up with a Post-it note for 3M. How long do you think it took them? 12 years. 12 years for an idea that is a good idea. There's an entire aisle in Office Depot of Post-its. And it took them 12 years. First guy, he made some glue that was, actually they call it adhesive. He made an adhesive that was a poor adhesive. It only stuck to itself. And he thought this was kind of cool. And so he kept talking about, hey guys, look at this cool glue. They're like, dude, throw it away. That stuff's awful. Like, we're adhesive scientists, PhD adhesive scientists, and that stuff is awful. Don't even talk about it. Pretend you never did it. He said, no, cool. And so they have inside of 3M, they have a lecture series where you go on and talk. And so for 5 years, he's talking about the glue. Oh, look at the adhesive. It doesn't stick to it. Says, right? They're going, golly, what's wrong with this guy? And so in the company where they say spend 20% of your time in unauthorized projects, they said to Spence Silver, do not work on this project anymore. Do not. So he started working at home. He built his basement, a little production facility in there, in his basement, and then he was there. My understanding is there's kind of this joke inside of 3M, go check out the guy who talks about the bad adhesive who won't stop talking about it. So everyone would like go just to check it out, to see this guy who's sort of obsessed with this problem who can't see anything else. And so when this guy goes and says, oh, I gotta check this out. He's watching, he says, wait a minute, I have a use for that. And he was a singer in a choir, and he wanted to be able to keep notes in his hymnal without messing up the pages. He said, I see it. So, what happened next? Is that history made? No. So, okay, so that's year 5. We still got to get year 12. And so from 5 to 12, basically they're building, they're doing market testing. Sir, would you like a small piece of paper too small to write on with bad adhesive on the back? No, not at all. Yeah, so they did a number of market tests like that, and people didn't want them. And so finally, what they did, my understanding is what they did was they made a whole bunch in the guy's basement, right, because they're not allowed to do work on at work, so it makes a bunch in the basement, and they send them to the executive assistants of all the board members at 3M. Big pile of them. And so they start using it, they go, oh my God, this is awesome, right? Because with that knucklehead CEO, like he keeps dropping stuff and losing stuff, like this is going to stay there. So they love this stuff. But then when they were done, none left, they said, oh, we need more. They said, oh, we're not going to make them. It's not a product. Talk to your boss about that. Yeah. Next thing you know, whole aisle in Office Depot of Post-its, right? The story here is really a story of how other people can help us through. Anything we do that's interesting is going to involve other people, right? We can't do this, we're going to get through this world by ourselves. We need other people to help us with this. And so in these early stages, I think when ideas are, we need people there. So that's the social psychological view. There are a number of books that talk about it this way, that say, the group process, that really matters. How you brainstorm really matters. If you criticize ideas, that really matters. The process of innovation, how it is we know what to do at which stage. I often tell my students, go brainstorm about this paper I'm having you write. And they run into a room, they start brainstorming. The problem is that some people think they're here, other people think they're here, someone thinks they're here, and someone says, oh, I'm done, I'm going to go watch the game now. And without being able to coordinate their behaviors, very quickly it gets all boxed up. It gets all messed up because they are working at odds. I'm diverging, you're converging, and so on and so on. So this idea of being with other people, how are we together, really does matter. Yet there's another view that says, no, the problem is really in the organizations. If the organization doesn't have a strategy or doesn't have a will to take that idea and do something with it, you're toast. You can have a great idea, you can have a great group and great supportive thing. If that idea doesn't fit where you're trying to go, it's dead. So as an example, I'll give you this. Remember the yellow boxes? Have we bought one of these recently? Anyone? No? Collector's item, right, that's right. Film. So in Kodak, there was this gentleman, Stephen Sasson is his name. He comes out one day with it. What is it? Digital camera, right? And so he brings it to those people and says, hey, I got it. I got it. I mean, it. And they say, it is, dude, that's actually film not. That's not film. Like, don't you get it? Like, we're film. That's not film. In fact, at the time, it was easier to get Kodak film in many places than it was get clean water. And so they had they had like 95% of the market. Fuji had a small part of the market. And so this guy comes out and says, I got it. And they say, man, you have not been reading the strategy. Because our strategy is to protect film and to make film work. Our strategy is not to do film not. No, it's not going to work, right? Okay. And we build these giant organizations. I mean, this creative organization, innovative organization. This is a university, by the way. No, literally, yeah. Okay. You get the idea. Like, how do we move information around? How do we actually make things happen in an organization? It's very, very, very difficult. So we've talked about individuals, and there's problems there, right? Left brain, right brain, how do we think? We bring up to the group level. So we take these individuals, we put them in groups. We have issues there, risk-taking, process. We then take those in groups, put them in organizations. Organizations have their own issue. How do I resource something? So we have resource allocations maybe aren't fair, aren't right. People don't know the strategy. So this fool doesn't know that we do film, and he goes off and does something. Well, think about it. If people in your organization don't know your strategy, they're going to be creative anyway. They're going to be doing stuff. They're going to be chewing up resources. They're going to be using up their time doing innovation. Because you said innovation is important, they're going to be doing it. And if it doesn't align with your strategy, you have to kill it. So you have to kill that idea. So what you need to do is you need to tell them the strategy up front. So I talk to organizations, why didn't you tell them the strategy? Oh, it's a secret. Okay, it's a secret, right? So the people trying to execute the strategy don't know it because it's a secret? Oh, well, maybe it's not a secret. Maybe it's changed. Or maybe it's in a 50-page document, a binder on their shelf collecting dust. Or maybe it was out of date the moment it came off the printer, it was already out of date. Yeah, strategy is hard, and communicating strategy is hard. But even innovation is hard if you don't do those things, if you don't actually make space for people to do that. So let's go then to the level of taking organizations and putting them into markets, or into industries as we call them. Economists look at this view, and they say, you know what, all the people stuff, that doesn't matter. The only thing that matters about innovation is that there's a market out there willing to adopt it. If the market's not willing to adopt it, it's not innovation. Is that fair? And so what they say is the problems that happen at the industry level is, for example, you have a thing called the music industry where a lot of organizations are in there and they're all doing this thing. They're all looking at each other. You know, they're saying, hey, this is a pretty good business model, huh? 12 songs you hate to get one song you like, you know, for 20 bucks. Yeah. So they're doing it and they're looking at each other. You're not going to do digital, are you? No, you're going to do it. No, you're not going to. So we're all looking at each other. And then there's someone who didn't get the memo. Some dude in his bathrobe, right, 19 years old, writes a program that brings the whole thing down. Why didn't they think of him? Well, they were thinking about digital. They were worried about it, but they didn't recognize that there's someone out there who may have a completely different business model. What's his business model? His business model is, hey, my buddy's got a bunch of AC/DC. I got a bunch of Led Zeppelin. Like, let's do it. Like, let's share. That's the business model? It's like, no. Well, for him it was. So in these industries, we sort of end up watching each other, and we're ignoring these weak signals, things happening off on the side, things on the periphery. And we're not asking our people to say, hey, what do you see out there? Hey, I see this thing called digital. And bring it back and say, you know, there's something there. I'm not sure if it's important. I'm not sure if it's going to affect us, but there's something out there. And that's an invitation to talk about it, right? To sort of come together and say, okay, where are we getting our information from? Are we all just looking at each other, or are we looking at what other people might do? Even, you know, people who have totally different incentives, totally different way of looking at what we do. And then there is this problem of society, that there are great innovations that could be good innovations that society says, you can't do that. Human cloning. So in 2002, a Dr. Bridget Bosselier, the scientific director of CloneAid, she claimed the birth of the first cloned human. So what do you think happened next? So here's Bridget Bosselier. So she claimed the birth of the first cloned human, and so what happened was everyone passed laws to ban human cloning. The United States government, federal, lots of states did it. We had United Nations came out, European Union came out, there was the Roman Catholic Church came out against it, Islamic fatwa issued against it. Everyone came out against human cloning. And so in a sense, you know, this could be a very innovative activity, but you can't do it. Because society says that's not what we aspire to. That doesn't make us at our best self. When I showed the picture of the woman crossing the street with the Segway, right? That brings that up. It's like, I don't know if I like that. There's something about that for us as a society that doesn't make sense. That's not there. The reason she did that is because of this guy. This is Rael. And if you're curious, go look up raelians.org, and you'll hear the story about this gentleman who had an experience with a UFO. and was told by the young being that comes out, if you look on their website, it looks like Prince, a cross between Prince and Michael Jackson, who told them that we're here because we were cloned from an alien race, and that cloning is the highest form of this. She happens to be a bishop in his church. So they have a little society within which cloning makes sense, within cloning is a meaningful thing. But for us, for normal people, for the larger society, we're saying, nope, can't do that. And so again, here's a way that society steps in and says, that innovation, not happening. We're going to make that fail. And then finally, there's the technology part. Because remember, the thing has to actually work in the end. So you're doing brain surgery, it's hard to keep the body alive. It's hard. You know, ideas, risks, strategy, all this stuff doesn't matter if you can't make the, put the hemoglobin into that blood. It doesn't work. And so, in the end, the innovation has to work. It actually has to happen. Here's a picture I was sort of struck by. This is a Google Earth image of one river coming down and meeting another river. You know something weird? This one's kind of blue, or black, whatever. And so upstream from here is a city called Cowboy City. This is in China. What do you think they do in Cowboy City? What do they do? What do the cowboys do? They wear jeans, right? So in Cowboy City, they make 500 million, that is a half a billion, 500 million pieces of denim a year. Thousands of factories. Upstream here. And for scale, this is like a super tanker. What do you think? So maybe it's a good idea to have one denim factory in town. Hey, this is pretty good. This is working out, right? Let's get another one in town, get another one. Then you get to 1,500, 2,000 factories, it becomes a problem because there's not a sewage treatment plant for this stuff. In this sense, the kind of poison that we end up poisoning ourselves. We poison our workers, we poison our environment, we poison our customers. It becomes problematic. And so from a technical perspective, we need ways of solving this kind of problem before we start claiming, wow, this is a great innovation. Wow, we've really grown our economy by having 1,000 factories in this area. So innovation fails so I've offered sort of 6 different explanations. And if you have books on innovation, let me just put them all up here. You can usually categorize them into one or the other of these things. So I could say, well, that's a book on individuals called How to Think Like Leonardo da Vinci. Or here's a book on groups and so on. So which one do you think is has the most explanatory power for you, for any innovation? The societal one? Yeah? Yeah? So if I'm in a context where I worry a lot about regulation, maybe healthcare, banking would be one, some others, then I'm really worried about society, what society says about what I'm doing. Because society steps in by passing laws or having ethical, exclusions. You're not allowed to do that kind of thing, or you should feel bad if you do that kind of thing. One thing is they all have to be true. For an innovation to work, every one of these things has to be true. The problem is we end up getting focused on one. So like the Segway, Dean came in, he's sort of worried about the technology. Keeps polishing the technology, making the technology better, and making the technology better, and sort of forgetting that there's other issues at play. How do people feel about if all our society stopped walking? That's a problem. They even tried to sell them to the U.S. Post Office for postal delivery people. If there's a population of people on Earth who like to walk, it's postal people, right? You wouldn't go into that job if you don't like to walk. And so you have to find people for whom this is a meaningful thing. I'll just leave it at that. We need to think about why the particular innovation I'm working on is likely to fail and make sure that I've covered all the areas. Is it a good idea? When I talk to other people about this, are they willing to help me? Can I get them excited about it? Right? So early stage business plan, we're doing that kind of thing of getting other people excited. Can I build can I build a plan for execution that is an organization that can actually make this thing happen? And that's a hard thing. Am I finding the right market? Do I see the people, my customers? Do I understand who it is who's going to help me make this thing happen? Society? Is there any possibility that society is going to misinterpret what I'm doing, is going to frown upon it? Or is this something that is aspirational? People say, wow, being able to connect to people all the time, like I can text my daughter at college, that's a good thing. And so I will adopt that. Not walking anymore makes me get fat and old and ugly. So I don't want to adopt the Segway. I want to, I still have shoes. I want to walk. And then finally, technology, does it work? And a lot of times we spend time, especially if we're engineers. I'm genetically an engineer. And so I tend to want to keep going here to this technology thing. And that's not always the problem. Sometimes the problem is somewhere else. So to show you visually, the question is, creative idea, yes, we have to have that. Group support from our colleagues, we need that. We need capable execution, we need a willing market, we need favorable regulation, and we need technology that works. And if we can align those things, if we can make them work, we'll end up with a successful idea. And it is inside the box, right? And it is in there. And ideally, what you can do is you can sort of move to adjacent places where people can't follow. You don't want to think outside the box, because it's not, you can't do it, it's complicated, it's difficult, it's risky, remember all the things we talked about. And that's true. We have to kill those ideas. But there are ideas that are inside of here or just across the line that may actually work. Let's go back to our hair. Natural soil conditioner, right? Okay, so Sow and Grow natural soil conditioner works with all plants, and Sow and Grow is 100% recycled human hair. Let's look at it from a constraint perspective. What has to be true in order for this to be a successful product? They have to acquire, ship, sterilize this stuff. So they found a source in China, cheap hair, they can ship it, so they're able to make it, bring it over here. So should they spend more time making this stuff cheaper? Probably not the problem, right? They got that. Sales and distribution. They built an organization. They were going to sell into Home Depot, into other kinds of landscaping markets, look at professional landscapers, Is that a problem? No, they got an organization that can do that. The inventor, someone had the idea. Oh, hair, let's use hair. Yeah, let's use hair. Wouldn't that be awesome? Okay, someone had the idea. In fact, people have been using hair for various things, deer control, other things like that for thousands of years. And so just someone happened back upon the idea. So that's not a problem. Sterilizing and matting. So they're able to sterilize and mat this stuff. This one is held together, at least for several years. It works. Like, so from a technical perspective, this stuff works. And it makes the plants grow better. In fact, it does. We then have the design team. So you need a set of people he talked to, like he had to borrow money from his uncle maybe, he had to pull some people together. It looks like he got free design services because this is pretty bad. And then we have the problem of society. That society says, like you did, yuck, I don't like that stuff, right? So, we'd love to be able to get this to overlap. We'd love to be able to encompass that. Not going to happen. So, how do you fix this? What would you do to make this better? Give me some ideas, yeah?
I think I would not say human hair on the product. I would say 100% natural, organic.
100% organic products. Yeah. Would you buy something that says 100% organic products? Yeah, probably more than human hair. Renewable, yeah.
It needs to be rebranded.
Rebrand it. Okay. Yeah?
People do buy fertilizer, which is...
Yeah, they buy like turkey manure. Yeah. Not turkey manure. Yeah? Yeah? Diet green. Oh, good. Well, the organic dye, of course. Yeah? What else? Anything else? Well, I'll show you what they did. Actually, they did take some steps because they were, running into trouble with this. And so first thing they did was they changed the name. Where it used to be called Sow and Grow, it's now called Smart Grow. Yeah, because you don't dumb grow. Do you dumb grow? No, you smart grow. Yes, right, Smart Grow. And then they started calling it all natural woven hair fiber product. Is that better? It's better than 100% recycled human hair? Yeah? Okay. Yeah, get the hair out of there. So they changed the name. They changed the packaging to green. Is that better than this? What does this look like? Like a weed, like Roundup, right? You spill Roundup in your yard. I think actually yellow is the brand colors of Roundup. Toupee, yeah. They started showing more data. So they started showing people how it works because people have a visceral, this emotional response to it, and you want to try to get them into their left brain, where they're actually thinking about this from a left brain perspective. So you show lots of data and things like that. And so with that, Mr. Sow and Grow still ends up with a lot of hair in his garage. In fact, he was so kind as to share one with me. What? I hear all the groaning. Oh, what do you think? Isn't that beautiful? Yeah, so this is a bad dye job. See this henna? Yeah. No, seriously. Okay, so he's got all this hair, and people are still saying yuck. Oh, yes, green packaging, still yuck. Oh, because it does say that it still says that recycled human hair down on the bottom in small print. It says Sew and Grow is 100% natural human hair recycled from select beauty salons, sanitized and woven into mats by a patent-pending process. Unfortunately, they made a little small design error because when you seal the package, it covers that up. Isn't that unfortunate? Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, okay, so what does he do? So one day, this gentleman is watching TV. So he's lamenting all this hair. There's a lot. I mean, I got a little bit of hair. He got a lot of hair. My kids won't ride in the car if this is in the car. Like, I'm not getting in the car. So he's watching TV. He says, oh, God, that oil, it really sticks to their fur. That's awful. That oil really sticks to their fur. Oil sticks to their fur. So what he figured out was this is now the otter mat. Because we're going to protect otters. If there's an oil spill, you throw it out, soaks up all the oil. You know, our hair gets greasy, right? I mean, it's the same idea. And you bring it in, and you put it through a wringer, and you squeeze the oil out, and you throw it back out. It's all natural. Would you have this or chemical dispersants? Right? That's the alternative. What do you think? Why are we not saying yuck? It's the same stuff. The same exact stuff. Isn't that weird? All of a sudden, it's good innovation. Before, it was like, oh, that's an awful innovation. Now it's a really good innovation. And so these kind of things, this is sort of the problem of innovation that we need to be thinking through. Like, what is it that's the problem? So am I going to spend more time sterilization, more time on lowering the cost, more time on all these things, when maybe that's not the problem? Maybe in this case, the market is the problem, and how it is that people understand this. I'll just tell you just one quick example. This will be pretty quick. This is the Metropolitan Opera. Metropolitan Opera said, you know, if we got a fixed plant size, we want to have more people. How do we get more people in here? Well, they could build an addition. They can do all sorts of things. But the kind of people who would want to see opera already do, and the people they want to reach are people like this, like slobbish people who put their feet up on the chairs, who eat popcorn during, you know, culture sharing events. Isn't this awful? So what do? Well, what they did was they actually developed a thing called the Metropolitan Opera Live in HD. And so you can sit in a movie theater somewhere and watch the Metropolitan Opera live as it's happening. And so you're actually participating in a live event, seeing a live event, because they won't record it, they just stream it in that way. Well, the development of this is kind of interesting because if you look at it from this constraint perspective, there's a what are the different constraints that have to be met in order for this to work? Well, we have board preferences, we have a venue size, we have the production costs, we have video definition, video, programming legitimacy. One problem they ran into was union contracts. The contracts with the artists did not allow them to just basically to stream their images and their art. So what they had to do is they had to rethink this, because this, looking at it this way, caused the fight. There was a big fight about the union contract. So what they did was they negotiated, talked about this, interpreted this. They said, oh, did I say union contract? I meant to say intellectual property agreement. We're going to renegotiate our intellectual property agreement with gain sharing, and you can share with, right? Because we're in the future. This is the future now. And so this made it possible. So all of a sudden, this thing that was stuck allowed them to move forward. The story here is that they didn't realize this until pretty far into the process. And this is probably the first thing they should have checked. Had they been thinking about, okay, what are the legal implications, what are the technical implications, what are all these different implications, they might have actually found that early. In this case, they were lucky, so they were able to do it. But if they had found that early, that's the problem you want to solve first. Right? So if there's a showstopper, you want to solve the showstopper first, because everything you do after that's wasted if you can't make the showstopper happen. So they made it happen. They were able to get venue partnerships, and now you can see this box is expanding. So we're actually growing the box. We're not just thinking outside the box. With that, I'm just going to jump ahead and say I have a book. I think they're selling some copies out there. And with that, thank you very much for your time and attention. I hope I wasn't too bad. Thank you. Yeah. Thanks.
Good job. Stay right here for a minute.
Okay. All right.
The first thing I did was go to Vanderbilt bookstore and buy one of David's books. We do have just a minute for a question or two. You know how the professor always asks you questions when you're in college. Now's your time for revenge. So be innovative with it. Any questions real quick? Did he cover everything? I guess.
Yes, question.
What, in your opinion, is one of the best examples currently in today's market of a company who is really on the ball in terms of innovation?
Okay, well, the question is, what's a company now that's really on the ball in terms of innovation? It's hard to say because there are different kinds of innovation. So if you look at someone like Google, they are doing things. I think the way that they try stuff out, the way you have to do the work to find bugs and to try things out. I think that's kind of innovative. Not kind of. That's very innovative. Companies like Apple, I think, are doing incremental things. So like they didn't invent the phone, they didn't invent the iPod. We saw the iPod, but they bring those things together in a way that actually works. And I think the most innovative companies are ones that are using users, that are understanding users, first of all, in terms of the market, but also using users to do the development for them. So we find these lead users, people who are modifying your stuff, people who are really pushing the edge. You're real pain in the ass customers. They're often the ones who are, right, we tend to want to ignore them instead of actually embracing them and saying, okay, what's the problem here? How can I push forward? Because they're going to get that need solved somewhere. And if it's real painful, they will pay a higher price for that. You get a higher margin on that. Yeah.
Another question?
Thanks.
Here's one.
Is there a simple, incremental way that an average company can become more innovative? Is there something that a CEO can do to their organization quickly, simply to start the process?
I think the most simple thing would be to put a line on the employee evaluation form, your annual evaluation form, that says, how does this employee rate with respect to innovation? You don't put anything else. And let them sort of think, oh, what's innovation? And then you get people thinking about it. They'll know it's a value. They're going to be evaluated on it. And then people will feel the courage to do what they would do naturally anyway. Because right now they're afraid to do it because they're afraid that you're going to say, what a dumb idea. Whereas if you create this demand, and it's for everyone, the janitor to the R&D, everyone in the organization has to become responsible for innovation.
One more question. Way back in the back.
Is there a GPS device that helps us locate where our constraint is in those 6 areas?
Oh, that's a good question. Yeah, the GPS for constraints. Well, there is actually a website, www.creativepeoplemustbestop.com, and click on the survey tool, and there's a little survey there. You can take the survey. The survey is actually the long version of the survey is in the book, but if you want the quick, the cathartic thing, take the survey there. It'll email you results, also with the results, the average results of everyone else who's taken the survey. And it'll be broken out in these 6 things. So a typical question would be, I gather all the information I need to solve problems sitting at my desk. Or do I gather the information I need out in the field? Right, so there would be implications there, and that would be an individual level thing. Where do I get information for creating ideas, and so on and so on. So take the survey. I would love to get more data in there. There are several hundred people who've taken it already, and so that's a quick way of getting some of that information.
Let's do just one more, right over here.
When I think back to some of my corporate or Fortune 500 experiences, the culture and the politics did not promote innovation amongst the workers. So when I think of that in the past, and then I think of like in Nashville, our Entrepreneur Center, Technology Council, et cetera, it's nice to see that elevation taking place in our community. But your model didn't really address that part. What would you say to that? Yeah.
So the in these large organizations, some large organizations shouldn't be innovating. I do work with TVA. And there's like a bunch of guys who run nuclear plants. I'm like, don't innovate. Like, light on, light off. Like, that's all I want, right? And so I think it's we sort of have to ask, remind ourselves, what are we after? So what a lot of organizations do is they put this outside of themselves. There's this thing called the organizational antibody. So we saw the example of the GM Impact, and that was a car that had no combustion engine. Well, it turns out all the people with power inside of GM have combustion engine backgrounds. Also, small cars have less profit than large cars. And at the time, GM had just bought Hummer. Also, gas was at a long time low. And so all these things add up that we're not sharing that kind of information inside the organization. So people are working on things and not going in the direction they want. So there's this thing called culture, the thing called structure, the thing called resources. I sort of lump those under the organizational constraints. And so I didn't say much about it here, but I have lots to say about it. And I really do I revel in what we're doing in Nashville in terms of the Entrepreneur Center, in terms of a lot of things like that we're doing that are giving people an expression, these spaces here, giving people a place to express these new ideas if they can't do it inside their organizations because they're afraid of the antibodies. Yes, there's one more here. Yes.
Right here. Number one, I'd like to get your idea in what would be the solution to, if you were to think outside the box or figure out what would be the solution that would be you think of ahead of time to solve the Segway regulation problem. The other is whether with the pollution problem, whether so much of the idea thinking is, oh, regulation is killing innovation, because I'm not concerned with consequences, rather than saying, how can I solve the problem of the consequences in order to do what I want to do, and accept that regulation is necessary. Right. And the balance of the argument over regulation is constantly going on.
Yeah. I think the way to think about regulation is just as social control. To what extent do we want people behaving in certain ways, and we're going to do it. We can call it regulation, but there's also morals. It's also, I mean, and then think of anti-lock brakes, seat belts. Those were things that were legislated, that you have to have this in order to do it, and it saved thousands and thousands of lives. To go to the first question with the sort of societal constraints, I'll tell you just, so how can I anticipate a segue kind of problem? Well, there's one case where this was anticipated. There's a guy, Richard Branson. He founded Virgin Records, then Virgin Airlines, and now he's working on a business called Virgin Intergalactic, or Virgin Galactic. Space tourism, basically you go up and down. And they had all these technical innovations. For example, they have a rocket engine that is both hybrid, it's a hybrid solid and liquid rocket that works together. If you go down to NASA, those people don't like each other. And so they can't work together, but he was able to make this happen. So very, very sophisticated technically. They won the X Prize, which meant basically they spent $150 million to win a $10 million prize. But they, at one point, Branson realized that Congress was about to pass a law that said, if you send a rocket up and it falls down, you are fully liable for that. So in other words, imagine if you drove a Ford car and you got in a crash, that Ford was liable for that. That's a problem. Right? That could be a big problem. And so instead of making the technology better, what he does is fill a van full of cash, drive to Washington, and start lobbying like crazy. And he got Neil Armstrong and John Glenn, all these astronauts to come and really push for this. And so you think about it, the act of innovation, required lobbying. Like, of all the innovative things, like, that doesn't seem very innovative, right, in the sense we think of. But that's the showstopper for this innovation. In fact, I think at the last minute, they got the law defeated by like 2 votes or something like that. And so the problem of the innovator is really to sort of keep scanning through and saying, okay, is the technology good enough? Let me look at these other things. What's going on here? Why isn't this one working? Where are people likely to kick back here? Why? In other words, creative people must be stopped. How are they going to stop me? And let me think that through up front. So at some point, I think the most important thing about innovation is to say, I'm going to put this thing out in the world. Am I willing to take responsibility for that? Is the world actually a better place if I make the world in this thing? And so is it better that we do it in the US, where there is a future potential for legislation, or that they then take all this space development and they take it down to the Bahamas, or they take it to Mexico, or they take it somewhere else where it won't be regulated at all? Trade-off. So anyway.
Let's give David a hand.
All right, thanks very much. Thank you.